Great. Welcome to Real Estate Radio. And with me, I've got MC Toit. He's the CEO of BidX1, and he's the CEO of Property Sales. It's an online auction company. And it's great to have you on the show, MC. Maybe you want to tell us, first of all, a little bit about online auctions. I mean, tell us about where BidX1 started out, because this is your second auction you're putting online. So maybe you can tell us, where did BidX1 come about, and then maybe share us your experiences of the first auction in South Africa.
Hi, Neil. Yeah, no, thank you very much for the call. Yes, it's been quite a bit of a transition from my side. I've actually done auctions for 16 years. I'm a fourth generation auctioneer. I'm used to actually, from my childhood days, the cattle ring, and then basically doing property auctions for the last 16 years. Now, that comes about from in-room auctions, live auctions, and obviously made the transition into doing the online auction part of property. And I think property has really transitioned that way. It's literally where property went. It's how buyers and sellers, based on, I mean, if you asked me a year ago, I wouldn't have given you this answer, but from our first auction and the response we're getting for the second auction, it's just blown my mind, to be honest. It's really where the public wants. It's the demand in terms of how transactions should happen. Buyers are just finding this platform so much easier to use, so much more time in their, they get so much more time from this. Yes. By utilizing our platform. They can go out, they can still conduct their meetings, but still buy property at the same time. It's just been such a success, actually more than anticipated.
Fantastic. So MC, just tell us a little bit about the first auction, because this particular company, BidX1, has been around for quite a while in the UK, is it? You want to maybe just share a little bit about that, and then tell us, I know you had your first auction in April, maybe share that first experience.
Yeah, sure. No problem. Yeah, so BidX1 has been around for quite some time. They also started, same as what everyone does, is with your live auctions, your in-room auctions, as we call it, and also realized that property, the whole transition to tech has happened. It's Steve McCarthy, our founder, was actually a little bit ahead of his time. But also, that's how things, that was how the world is going, and that is how the world is going. Right. We found that from the first auction, and literally, I mean, over 8,000 properties. That was at the end of last year already. We've exceeded that with some margin. Wow. Over 8,000 properties were sold via the online platform in the UK and in Ireland. And then obviously we've assisted with exceeding that from the first auction. So the first auction was quite an interesting experience. Obviously, I didn't really know what to expect from that. How will the public actually react to this auction? And I was blown away. At over 31 properties, we actually received 411 bids. Right. So I mean, the response was ridiculous. One lot specifically achieved 103 bids. Wow. It started at an opening bid of 2 million, and then actually just shot up all the way to 3.190. Wow. Purely, I mean, yeah, well, look, it was easy for buyers. They were we had bidders from all over the world. We actually had a bidder that was sitting on a cruise ship somewhere in the Mediterranean, bidding on a property. so you don't even have to cancel. Yeah, no, you don't have to cancel your holiday. You can still buy a property.
Wonderful.
So it was an eye opener, to say the least. 33% of our bids actually came from cell phones, so which was quite unexpected. I actually had bidders that was bidding on multiple devices. They were bidding on a tablet as well as a laptop.
And
so well, the cell phone bidders, they bid on their cell phone, and it opens it up to so many new bidders, so many new opportunities. I mean, people that and these days you just cannot find the time to take a day out of business to go and buy a property. You know, it's just, life has just become so quick, and it's happening so fast, and the time, there is no more time really to waste. Right. And especially in property, you know, good properties sell so quickly, and there should be a platform to be able to allow everyone the same opportunity to buy property. That's what we believe. We believe it needs to be transparent. We believe it needs to be accessible to everyone, and that's why we brought BidX1 in. It's really unbelievable and easy to use platform.
Fantastic. So your second auction is coming up on the 3rd of July. That's next week, MC. So maybe, you know, I mean, it seemed that obviously you've had a magnificent response to the first one. I mean, what do we got in store for the second one? Because maybe once you've done the first one, you know, you probably got to try and get better and create that same buzz as you would have online as you would have in an auction room. So tell us about the second one.
Well, I'm actually quite excited about the second one, Neil. Obviously, you know, being the second one, we made a few changes to the offering on the platform. We made it, there's always ways to improve, and we always look for ways to improve, not only for the seller, but for the buyer as well, to make it easy for both parties to transact. Okay. And as I've said, that is the goal. So I'm extremely excited about this next auction. The properties are priced well. Basically, when you place a bid, there is some lots that would indicate opening bid. Opening bid normally gets used when it is a bank instruction or a liquidation or an insolvency or something to that effect, where there is still a process that needs to follow post auction. That's right. The norm across, you know, all of these sales. They have to either get back to a creditor or the heirs in a deceased estate or something to that effect. But normally, 90% of the times, those deals go through smoothly. Adhere to it. The main change that we actually also offered is that a buyer will know exactly where he stands. We're opening the bids on reserve price. So if you bid and you're the only bidder, you've bought the property, it's done. The deal is there. You don't, you know, it's not a back and forth between you and the seller. It is actually, the negotiation process is right there. You know where you stand in terms of the seller. The seller knows where he stands in terms of you as the buyer. And there's finality. And that is what we tried to create for the second auction. There's some unbelievable properties there. The hype's already there, Neil. I don't really have to create it. The public creates it. I wouldn't know. In any event, I wouldn't know how to create it. On a live auction, I make a few jokes and I create the vibe. But this time around, I can't. But one thing, however, buyers must, however, also realize that they can contact me. They can contact the broker, the property specialist. It's one thing that we've done correctly on this platform is that you as a buyer must never feel that you are only transacting with a machine. Right. We are accessible. Our phone lines are open. We actually get extra phone lines in for the auctions. So if you've got a question, even if there's 2 minutes left of bidding time left, phone us. We'll be able to answer your questions. You know, I've actually told my brokers before, you know, you need to know how long it takes for the grass to grow on that property. Sure. Because someone, look, well, it makes sense, because if there's 2 minutes left on bidding and I'm asking you a question, you need to know what the answer is. Sure. Because, I mean, I've got literally seconds to make a decision in terms of me. So what on that point as well as I want to tell buyers, we've got show days that's coming up, especially now this weekend, pre the auction as well.
Okay.
And I would encourage buyers to actually go and view the properties so that they make themselves acquainted with what, what's on offer. And also, to do a bit of their homework. What can we afford? What can't we afford? Those kind of things. That is crucial to know. And, so that when you are in the process of bidding, hopefully from a buyer's point of view, hopefully you get it for a bit less than what you were prepared to pay for it. And then from a seller's point of view, hopefully you pay a little bit more than what you were going to pay.
Fantastic. Of course, everybody loves a good deal. So MC, with the starting point would then be somebody would have to go onto the BidX1.com and you would go to the catalog, right? I think that's your starting point. And that's where you've listed all the. So maybe just take us through that process, because obviously we need to know, first of all, what is the property that's going to be on auction, and that's in the catalog.
Yeah, so it is actually, it's quite important point. So it's very straightforward, but I've got a few tips, obviously, to navigate through our platform much quicker, even though it's very easy. My advice would be, once you get into our platform, create an account. When you're creating an account, it just makes life a lot quicker, especially when you're registering for a property that you want to bid on. So what happens is you go through, you click onto the catalog that is currently available in South Africa. Well, firstly, you have to get to the South African page, unless you want to buy it in one of our other countries, which you're more than welcome to do. But go into the South African page, click on our catalog, and then browse through the properties that you're interested in. When you click into a property, it'll give you all the information of that property that we've got available to us. Obviously, you might have a question. Give the broker a call. As I said, we've made ourselves acquainted with every single thing about the property, the area. We'll be able to give you answers that you thought you were going to ask. So basically, then once you're in a property and you're reading the information, please don't forget to have a look at the legals tab. So there's 4 tabs. There's a viewing tab, a map tab, which will obviously show you exactly where the property is. And then there's the legal tab. So if you go into the legal tab, you'll see that you'll find the conditions of sale, the rules of auction. Make yourself acquainted with the conditions of sale and rules of auction, because those are the terms, obviously, that you're buying the property on. In the legals tab, there might be a lease agreement if there's a lease in place. All the information that is relevant to the property will be in the legals tab. So it's quite relevant to actually go in there. Once you've then ready and you want to buy your property, you can actually register for it. Our registration is open. Now the registration process is quite simple. If you created your account already and you're buying it in your own personal name, you can just actually click there and it will say to you that the bidder is actually the purchaser, and majority of your information will be there already. Just bidders must make sure that they've got their FICA documents available. It's very quick and it's very easy to upload the FICA documents. You can also even use the camera on your PC or your phone to take a picture of your rates bill, those kind of things. And then once you've processed your registration, there is a small bidding security deposit that needs to be paid. That can be done either by credit card or EFT. And once you've reached that point, it'll actually notify us from our side. We'll send you a payment link. Once our FICA officer has verified all the relevant information, you'll be approved as a bidder and you'll be set to go for the day of the auction.
Fantastic. Okay, so just a little bit before we get to the final sort of closing process and the bidding process, the due diligence of the properties. I assume that you've already done the due diligence. You've checked, if there's outstanding monies, etc. Whether you're talking about municipal rates, levies, etc. That kind of stuff. I would assume each property has got a thorough due diligence on the financials.
Yeah, so a thorough due diligence is always done properly upfront, straight away, and obviously we comply with the Consumer Protection Act fully. It's one of the things that we do a lot of research on constantly. We make sure and we pride ourselves with the fact that we actually keep up to date with all of the relevant acts that comply. And that applies, and that we comply with those acts. So yes, we do a proper due diligence on the properties. What is it's a good question. Majority of the properties, you as the purchaser are not liable for any outstanding rates, taxes, municipal charges. There is specific properties, especially actually on this auction. There's about 3 or 4 lots where you are. However, there we will be, the outstanding rates and taxes and those things are actually provided to you. And on majority of these lots, there is some of them, but on a lot of these lots, there is no buyer's commission, which is actually on an auction. It's normally there's a buyer's commission instead of a seller's commission. On a lot of these lots, there isn't. But you have to, hence me saying that you have to go into the legal tab, have a look at what is on the in the legal documents and the conditions of sale. So what is applicable? Is it a buyer's commission or a seller's commission that's applicable? And what is the deposit that I need to put down? So, for instance, an example will be one of a bank lot, for instance, that's actually very beneficial to a buyer. Your bid price will, in that case, be inclusive of VAT. So there won't be transfer duty applicable. Your bid price will include the VAT. And then also your commission is a 6% commission, buyer's commission, but that's also inclusive of VAT. And then you'll have to put down a deposit of 5%. Now the 5% deposit plus the commission. So immediately after the auction, you have to put down 11% of what your bid price is. So those are the type of terms that you have to have a look at. Who is liable for the outstanding rates and taxes and municipal charges? Another clause to have a look out for is, when do you take occupation? Is occupation on acceptance, or is it on date of guarantees, or is it on date of registration of transfer? Because if you take prior occupation, then obviously an occupational interest will apply. On this auction, off the top of my head, there is no early occupation. All of these are actually occupation on date of registration of transfer, if I remember correctly. But also basically, you can, as a purchaser, you can always engage post-auction with the transferring attorneys and say, look, I might want to do early occupation. You can negotiate that with your seller, but you need to, especially on bank lots as well, you need to also have a look at what is the occupation scenario, what is the situation. Is the property occupied? Is the property vacant? What is the situation? So on legal properties, please, I need the buyers to do their due diligence properly. And then, on your normal private instructions, the due diligence is done properly. We've, the pricing is there. All the information is there for the buyer to make their call.
Fantastic. So now we're registered, we're ready to start making a bid. Can people start bidding now? When does the bidding open officially?
Okay, no, so it's very much a simulation of a live auction. So what will happen is you'll register now, you'll get an email to say that you're an approved bidder, and on the 3rd of July, you then log in. So you go onto the site, you log in, 8 o'clock in the morning, bidding for all lots open. So whether your bid is the lot number 1 or it's lot number 52, all bidding opens on the day of the auction at 8 o'clock. And then lot number 1 will close at 10 o'clock in that on the morning. So 10 a.m., the first lot will close. So what happens is bidding will obviously go on to 10 o'clock. Should a bid be placed in the last 60 seconds, so for us to avoid sniping, the bidding will the bidding time will increase with sniping means that you wait till the last second and you quickly click and your bid stands there. So
Okay.
your underbidder they don't have a chance to actually counter bid on that. And again, we're here for transparency and fairness. That's a little bit unfair if your underbidder is not allowed to be able to place another bid.
Great. How often does that happen, MC? How often does sniping happen?
Well, sniping can't happen, firstly, because we've eliminated that.
Okay.
But to tell you, 85% of my bids actually happen in the last 10 minutes of an auction.
Wow.
But that also, that's also, it depends from lot to lot, obviously, So some lots, all the bidding gets done from between 8 and 8:30. It depends on the property mainly, because it depends on what buyer profile will they be able to bid during the day. That's why we open up the bidding at 8 o'clock. And we've got various tools for buyers. So we've got a max bid option. Mm-hmm. So what a buyer does is that a buyer can place his maximum bid that he's prepared to pay for the property up front in the morning.
Right.
He's the only one that actually knows that figure. Even myself don't know that figure. And then the platform will bid on their behalf.
Right.
So if, for instance, a bid gets placed, mm-hmm. they will automatically place another bid, which is in the smallest increment that is there on the day of the platform, on the day of the auction. There's normally 3 increments. I can't recall now. That's very stupid of me to not be able to tell you what the increments are, but I think it's 5,000 Rand, 10,000 Rand, and 25,000 Rand.
Okay.
Now you can, when you place a max bid, obviously it will then increase your bids automatically once a bid is placed.
Right.
If you select to do place instant bids, you can obviously dictate and you can manipulate your bid. You can either push 25K 10 times and bid in 250,000 Rand increments, or you can just bid in 25,000 Rand increments or 5,000 Rand increments. Depends obviously on the value of the lot. We can go on all day. That's not an issue, but I normally would advise people with a higher value lot to place a little bit of a higher bid, purely because the other guy is probably going to outbid you again.
Absolutely.
So it's up to you. It's up to you how much time you've got. But it is a lot of fun. I've heard from buyers. So you can carry on. It's they're all enjoying it. When you are a registered bidder, we actually do have a bidding video available, mm-hmm. which will allow people to have a look at how the bidding process happens. What's the options available? What is sniping, by the way? It also covers that in the video. It covers the extension period, which is the 60-second period. Right. And the lot will only close once there has been no bid placed in the last 60 seconds. So up until no bid placed for 60 seconds, then the lot will close. So lot number 2 will close 5 past 10. Lot number 3, 10 past 10. So in 5-minute intervals, all the lots will close. Mm-hmm. But every lot has got its own virtual auction, basically. Okay. So if lot number 1 carries on from 10 o'clock to 10:30, it will not affect lot number 2's closing time. So you would not have to wait. If you are lot number 30 in the auction, you don't have to wait for the lots to close, because some of the lots can actually take half an hour overtime, purely because bids are being placed in the last 60 seconds and the lot is continuing. Right. So you won't ever lose out as a buyer. So if you've set time aside for you your lot is closing at 10:30, your lot will still be closing in that time, obviously, unless there is additional bids that is happening.
Fantastic. MC, I think this is a wonderful, transparent way of doing a transaction. You can go online, and I think it's definitely, for me, the new kind of way of investing, and it seems to be taking off. So if I can encourage everybody now to go onto the BidX1.com, and I think you said you click on the South African catalog. We don't want to land up in Ireland, as you say. We want to click on the South African version. Any sort of closing thoughts for next week's auction? Any highlights, any properties or something that you'd like to just let us know about?
Yeah, thanks, Neil. There is actually some really good stock available. On the commercial side, we've got a brilliant property in Midrand, right on the highway there, prime, perfect location. I'm not going to give it away. I want to direct the traffic there. Go and have a look at that reserve price. It is absolutely a perfect buy.
Right.
Then we've actually got some brilliant residential stock available. There's a stunning property in Eagle Canyon, a very extraordinary property in Silver Lakes. I didn't know these properties exist in the middle of Pretoria.
Mm-hmm.
It really is a stunning property. And then we've got some good investment properties, solid investment properties in Marshalltown. For example, we've got properties, well, across the country. I've got a nice property in Erenvale, Franschhoek.
Right.
There's all over. Straight by. Go and have a look.
Great stuff.